For many young kids in this country, it is their dream to play professional football. But just how do you get from kicking a ball in your back garden to playing in front of big crowds every week? As a former pro youth footballer, I'm hoping to uncover just how difficult this progression is, and also the pros and cons of the Scottish youth football system. Playing on a big stage may look like it's down to sheer talent, but there is a lot more to it than that. Players come through the doors of professional clubs at ages as young as 6 or 7 and go through years of rigorous training. Many who have talent simply cannot cope with the demands. But for the few who do make it through, the rewards are well and truly worth it. To those on the outside, pro youth football may look very glamorous. However, the harsh reality is that it's a gruelling education into the life of professional football. So I've come along here to my old club, St Johnstone FC, to find out exactly what it takes to become a professional footballer. Having played in a youth academy before, I know full well how difficult it is to make it through, as many of my former teammates and I failed to make it as professionals.
On average, from the under-17s, when they finish at under-17 and they're ready to leave school, we would aim to probably be bringing in maybe 6 per year, I think is a good figure. Obviously, the youth has got to come through as much as possible from the local area. The more we get locally, the better. It comes through into the academy, from there into the under-20s, and hopefully we get a good percentage moving up into the full-time. That's the aim.
One of my former teammates did make it through, and his name was Andrew Steeves. I played regularly with Andrew for many years as a youngster. We trained and played together on this very training ground. What did it feel like for you when you came through the ranks here at St Johnstone, your boyhood club, and to be offered a full-time contract? Obviously I was the same team as you, but wasn't as lucky.
Well, that was the thing. We started, I was 9, you must have just been turning 10. Very funny, I wish I brought it. I had a photo of our very first game here against Ross County. We were actually standing there. So it was under 11s right the way through to under 17s, and then got my full-time contract. Absolute dream.
While some took to pro youth football like a fish to water, many struggled to cope with the sheer demands at such a young age, and they decided to give it up and go back to playing at a lower level.
It was definitely too serious I think I went in at the age of 12 and we were expected to be training twice a week, which consisted mainly of running around the football track for about an hour. And for me at that age, all you want to do is play football. I was told you've got to concentrate on the one sport, you can't be playing 2 sports at a reasonably high level. So again, that was another reason why I decided to pack it in, was because I wasn't, at the age of 13, I wasn't going to give up playing tennis, I wasn't going to give up playing golf.
For those who do make it through the academy and then on to the first team, the Sky Sports cameras could well be on them. Just like Scotland international midfielder Murray Davidson, who rose through the ranks at Livingston, but did have to make a lot of sacrifices along the way.
The hardest stage was probably 15, 16, 17, when you leave school, your mates, it's getting to the age where you can start going out, maybe doing the wrong things. So when they're all doing that, you've got a football game on Saturday, Sunday morning, you've got to make sacrifices. Not just me, my family had to do it as well by taking me through it. There's a lot of travelling involved. But looking back again, there was a lot of sacrifices.
Some people in the game argue that pro youth is too much, too young, and that by staying at boys' clubs for longer, kids will learn to love football a lot more. And St Johnstone's Alistair Stevenson believes that working with boys' clubs rather than against them is the key.
We've secured players from a lot of the good progressive boys' clubs because we've cooperated with them and we've allowed them to play a wee bit longer with their boys' club. I think we've benefited quite well, but I think the majority of senior clubs would say that they want to be the ones that are in control of the young players' destinies there.
And the boys' clubs can also benefit. With pro youth footballers dropping out because they can't cope with the demands, the boys' clubs can pick them up and help them to fall back in love with the game.
It was enjoyable when I went back to boys' club playing with my friends. When I used to go back to school on a Monday morning, they'd be talking about how much of a laugh they'd had at the weekend, whereas I'd been travelling hundreds of miles down to Dumfries, not getting a game, coming back up, getting home at 8, 9 o'clock at night. it just wasn't for me. As I say, you're expected to be out and about so much training and all this fitness exercise and into the gym, and in the end it just wasn't for me.
Even now, as a Scotland international, Murray Davidson believes that boys' clubs are important grounding for youngsters looking to make their mark in football.
I believe boys' club is very good for you. It's important you enjoy it at that age. It isn't too serious, and when you start getting maybe to your 12, 13, 14s, that's when I think you should be looking to maybe progress to a bigger club. But looking at 5, 6-year-olds all the way up to 9, 10, 11, I believe that playing with your friends, playing in your local community is perfect.
There is another view that what suits one player may not suit another. Some may benefit from staying with their boys' clubs for a bit longer, while others will benefit from getting to pro youth football nice and early.
We had boys coming in from 15, 16 that went full time after a year, and they'd played boys clubs since the age of 10, so it really depends. Personally, I think for me it was better to come in at 9, 10 years old, but for some boys it is better to stay and enjoy their football at their boys club instead of having the pressures of travel.
Sometimes the pressure can drive young players away from football, and even the most talented of players can fall away from the game because of this.
I always wanted to be a footballer. I grew up as a young boy, always kicking a ball about the house, wanted to be a professional. I mean, that's all I ever wanted to do up until I got into pro youth football.
For those players who do stick at it, they can't all be offered professional contracts at the end of their academy training. And as the head of youth development at a football club, it is a horrible feeling having to shatter a young person's hopes and dreams of making a career out of the game that they love. However, the reality is, more kids are rejected than make it full time.
How difficult is it for you to tell a youngster that he's not going to be getting offered a contract and that he's not going to be making it as a professional? How difficult is that job for you?
That's really difficult. That's the most soul-destroying part of the job. You see somebody who's so keen, so focused, and parents have made a huge commitment in terms of getting them from A to B every week. They get them through for training, they get them back home, they get them back out the next night, they get them back home, up at the weekend. It's a huge commitment, and when you have to tell somebody that it's not going to be good news, that is really difficult.
Even my old teammate, who was offered a contract at the age of 16, suffered rejection just a few years later before he even made it to the first team squad.
Going from the elation of getting given a contract for the first time, it seems, what was it like when you found out, in the under-20s that you weren't being kept and you had to now find another club?
I actually remember it. It was a Friday. We were actually getting ready for the game on the Saturday. We'd finished training. We were in. We just got showered, and I got told that the manager wanted to see me. So I knocked on his door, went in, and then I was in the room for 10 minutes, and within 2 minutes I knew the bad news. And I honestly couldn't tell you what he said for the other 8 minutes. I was bawling my eyes out. Had to go out the office and come back in to finish the meeting. It was absolutely terrible. It was me and Kieran Stewart. We signed on the same day as 9-year-olds, and we got released within 15 minutes of each other. But see now, I look back on it and I honestly can say I would change very, very little in the past 10 years.
So this is where the youngsters will be hoping to play as they try to make a career in professional football. However, the road to the top is a long and difficult one, as I am well aware of, and many of the boys will fall by the wayside before they get a chance to step out onto this pitch.
So, although the opportunity to play at pro youth level is a great one, it doesn't come without a few conditions and downsides. The sacrifices that youngsters and their parents are required to make are great, as well as the physical and mental demands for someone at such a young age. Then, there's a possibility that even if you adhere to the strictest of training regimes and commit yourself 100%, you may still face rejection at the final hurdle. But if you are one of the lucky ones who does make it through to become a professional footballer, then walking out in stadiums like this may be a regular occurrence.
Tonight.